Okay, more of Age of Chivalry, Battle of Bouvines. Robert Markham, 3W, 1992. Okay, this is the start of turn 4. At the start of each turn, both players try to change leaders' orders. So each side will have anywhere on average from 3 to 5, sometimes 6 leaders. So down here we have Robert. Example. So the leader counter has 3 values on the bottom, from left to right. There's his command value. In the middle is his command span or radius, and on the lower right is his combat bonus used in melee. So if a player wants a leader to attempt to change his order, he will roll against his command value, and equal to the command value or less, and he can change his order to what the player would like. So in review here, Robert back here is in reserve. Does he want to move up yet? Let's give him an advance order, for example. So these white chits you see across the board, they are orders. Rout, exhausted, berserk. So these informational counters, the white ones, serve all these different purposes. Orders, unit status, morale status. So we start with, we'll say Robert is going to try to change his order from reserve to advance. We'll go here. Philip, he's in reserve. He'll stay in reserve. Philip of the French army here. Reserve, he'll stay in reserve. Over here, who is this? William is with a heavy cavalry unit that has already gone berserk. They have a stand order. That's probably good because we have, infantry or Picardy infantry here. 2 infantry units are exhausted now from having gone berserk before, and we also have a routed unit. So under these circumstances, it's probably good for him to stay in a stand order until they get basically reorganized again. Although there isn't disorganization and reorganization per se, basically this command here is pretty much disorganized because you've got a heavy unit that's gone berserk, 2 infantry units that are exhausted after having gone berserk, and you have a routed unit. You only have 1 good order heavy cavalry over here. So we go over here to Newers. Newers has an infantry formation here. Newers has a stand order. He is going to keep his stand order until these attacking units under Berg have either swept these imperialist infantry away or become exhausted themselves or run their course of their attack. Because if Newers tries to advance here, I'm thinking it might get too congested here. Of course, I might change that idea in a later turn. So Berg right here is still in fairly good order, so he'll keep his attack order. He'll keep the attack going. So here's the leader, Berg. By the way, he has very good values. He has a command value of 7, a command span of 6, and a combat bonus of 2. So Berg is a very good leader. So he'll keep his attack going. Here's his attack marker behind him. And finally over here we have now exhausted. I've replaced a leader. but the rest of these units are okay. So it has an attack order. That's okay because these cavalry units here, we have regular cavalry, heavy cavalry, and regular cavalry. They'll just keep the attack going. Over here, oh yeah, I remember this. Ferdan recovered from his rout. He has a stand order. That's okay. You can still move 1 hex under a stand order, so that's okay. This formation also has a stand order. This formation is very weak. Actually, it's about ready to probably go away. It's taken some casualties. This is Brobar with a medium strength infantry unit in the center here. You should probably keep his stand order. Stand orders give a defensive bonus, so might as well keep that. Here in the center we have Otto. Otto's right here with this heavy cavalry formation. He is in reserve order, and I'm thinking at some point Otto is going to attempt to charge with that heavy cavalry unit. Maybe next turn. Over here we have a muster order for Boulogne. Right here, here's Boulogne. His unit got mauled up here. Advance, yes. Hugh is going to advance and try to bring his regular infantry into the battle, try to cause some damage. So he'll keep his advance order. Maybe next turn he'll, well actually this turn, he'll try to go from advance to attack. Okay, so now all of the order changes have been declared by both players at the start of the game turn. Now we can just go through and roll against them. So over here Robert has a command value of 6. So 6 or, yep, he rolls a 3, so 6 or less. He's able to change his command, so from reserve to advance. And over here we have Hugh. Hugh has a command value of 5. He rolled an 8, so that's high over his command value, so he is not able to change his advance command to attack. So maybe next turn. Alright, so that's the command change phase. So we move on to the first player's game turn, first player's movement phase. Movement phase has 2 steps. First you check to see if units are out of command, which is beyond the leader's command span. And then you're going to move all eligible units that you want to move. Remembering that in this game you do have mandatory movements like advance. For example, advance units must end their movement at least 1 hex closer to the nearest enemy combat unit. For example, attack obviously is even more restrictive. You pretty much have to move at least half of your movement value towards an enemy, and so on and so forth. So there are, movement is not complete. Although you can move any and all units in general, you have to also obey the directions of the order. So the first player is the French player. This beige tan color. So real quickly, make sure everyone's in command span. I mean, they're not that broken up, so yeah. So we'll do one. We'll go through one in more detail. So here we have, St. Paul lost his life, so we have a replacement leader here. Oh yeah. So the leader of this formation over here is St. Paul. Has his name on there, has his values, but he was killed in earlier combat. So when you flip it over, each leader has a generic replacement leader. And so this replacement leader is in command of this formation now, with dramatically lower values, leader values. So his command span is now reduced to 3. So you want to trace command span. You cannot trace through enemy zones of control unless occupied by a friendly combat unit. So, for example, here's the leader. He's going to trace 1, 2, 3 to this 1st Cavalry unit of the formation. So he's able to get to this 1st Cavalry unit, 1, 2, 3, free of enemy zones of control or enemy units. Enemy zones of control not occupied by friendly units. Now, once he reaches this 1st Cavalry unit, these next 2 cavalry units are in command because of command extension. Basically, they're adjacent to either a unit in command or a unit adjacent to a unit in command in a stringing sort of way, a linking sort of way. So that's good. The cavalry there is in command. Incidentally, these skirmisher units, skirmishers don't have to trace command, and they do not obey command shits as well. Okay, so looks like all French are in command. Movement. So we'll just go in order down here. Robert, when he changed to his advanced command, they can move up to their full movement allowance. And of course they must end at least 1 hex closer to the nearest enemy combat units, which are way up here on the crest. So they'll basically, okay, where do they want to go? Maybe they want to come around the left. They want to come up here and reinforce the attack in the center. Let's just say he's going to come around the French left here. And because either he stops Hugh's formation here, or if he breaks through, then he can get to the Imperialist center from another direction to support the French drive in the center. So to review again real quick, I don't know if this is review or not, but so here's a combat unit. Here's the combat. This is so the little icon in the center. You pretty much have to learn what the icon pictures are, although they are listed. They're all listed in the rule book. So this is heavy cavalry. You pretty much you can know it's heavy cavalry quickly, primarily because of the icon picture in the center. And then in the top right is the morale value. In the lower right is the movement value. Lower left is combat strength. And then the letter in the top left is just for setup. And the lowercase letter on this unit, which is in the center right, that's just a unit ID marker. Unit ID. Okay, so this heavy cavalry has a movement of 6. We'll go ahead and use their whole movement value, the movement allowance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This regular cavalry has a movement allowance of 8. So they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to do a hex change, 6, 7, and 8 to do another hex change. Facing change. Alright, so that's Robert's formation there. Here we have a stand. Just move the heavy cavalry up 1 hex, which he can do with his stand order. Now, let's check on these exhausted units. During movement, exhausted units may move 1 hex, but may not enter enemy zocs. If at the beginning of movement an exhausted unit is in an enemy's ZOC, it must retreat 1 hex. So how do they recover? Okay, exhaustion removal during the rally phase. Okay, the owning player may check each exhausted unit. Okay, got to remember to do that during the rally phase. Okay. Newers will stay put for now. Philip with his reserve order will stay put. Okay, Berg here still has an attack order. Attack order means you pretty much have to go after the enemy unless you're already adjacent. These 3 begin adjacent to enemy units, so they will stay adjacent. This one, Berg here with the infantry, as I understand it, he has to move up here because you have to keep moving until you basically close with and get adjacent to the enemy, and you also must attack. Units with attack commands must initiate. Yes, units with an attack command must initiate melee. Alright, so that's good enough. These skirmisher units have targets to shoot at. So this formation also still has an attack command. So whether they want to or not, they have to advance and get adjacent to the enemy. In general. Okay, let's do this one here because we have the exhausted unit leader. So at the beginning of movement, the exhausted unit is in enemy ZOC, so he's in the ZOC of this Flanders infantry here. It must retreat 1 hex, unless in doing so it would move into another enemy ZOC. So he can retreat 1 hex to here. Which is probably a good idea anyways. Okay. So he'll move here, so he's adjacent to the enemy there. Heavy cavalry. Let's see if the heavy cavalry can charge now. Heavy cavalry can charge in this game. Heavy cavalry units in the attack command. They have an attack command. If they simply made during the initial command phase, want to roll against their morale rating to start the charge. Okay, I gotta remember that next turn. So well, he has to advance. He has to advance and melee. So I'll just do that. Try to knock off this formation for good here. Alright, so that's all the French movement. And we go to the next phase, which is combat phase. Combat phase will go defensive fire. So in this case, Imperialists, all units that have fire capability may fire. Then we'll go to offensive fire, back to the French, all units that have fire capability fire, and then go into melee. So first, let's see what Imperialist fire capability is not too much, but his bow unit is within range. See, I'll show you real quick. The tables I'm using for fire, they're basically 2 tables with some modifiers associated with them. You have a range table. That's where you check to see how far each unit can fire according to its type. And then you have an actual fire table, and you have just a couple modifiers to pay attention to. So the bow unit here can fire at this stack. You have some infantry that can fire here. That's about it. So let's go back to this bowman here. Okay, so have the bowman, and remember the bowman is a skirmisher. So the little asterisk next to its combat strength shows that it has fire capability. Okay, so you just go by type. So that is a bow unit. Again, you'd know by the icon there, the figure. which you can check, double check. That is a bowman. Okay, so the bowman can fire at 2 hexes, no modification for range at that distance. This, though, I believe is a heavy this is a heavy cavalry, so there will be a -1 for that. The target is heavy cavalry, and that's on the fire table. Make sure there's not anything about being berserk in defense. There is in melee, but not in fire combat. So just go to the column under bow and roll the die. Okay, 9, subtract 1 for the heavy cavalry is 8. Cross index, and we have a morale check. So this is going to be, the heavy cavalry has a morale of 7. He has to subtract 1 for the leader, which is good, but he has to add 1 for being berserk. I'm sorry, berserks. Yeah, it's better. You would think berserk units would have better morale. So it's 7 -1 for the leader and minus another 1 for being berserk. So he rolls a 6, -2 is 4, which is well under his morale value of 7, so he is fine. Over here, this infantry now has a unit in his front 2 hexes. Berg moved up here. So back to the range for infantry is 1, no modification for range under the range table. Look for the infantry column. They're targeting regular infantry, which has no modifier, so it's just a roll on the infantry column of the fire table. It's a 4, which is no effect. We'll do the same thing here. Okay. Of note, these infantry units, any unit really with fire combat capability, when they're reduced, it does nothing to their fire capability. Fire capability is always a yes or no. So this infantry unit, this Holland infantry unit, is on its reduced side. Still has fire capability. You still see the asterisk next to its strength value. Its fire capability isn't reduced at all. Fire capability is still present, so he fires just like a full strength infantry unit. Okay, so he will fire at, he has 2 infantry units in his front hexes. He can choose his target. He'll choose this one here. So infantry, 1 away, no modifier, and no fire table modifiers apply. So again, infantry, straight, roll on the column, 1, so he misses. And that's all the imperialist or defensive fire. Now we go to offensive fire. So you look for French units that can fire. So all of these French infantry can fire at units in their front. As I understand the rules, as I interpret the rules, you have to declare all your melees before you execute them. That's what I understand. That's how I interpret the rules. It's not spelled out. I don't think it's spelled out in an ironclad way, but I interpret the rules to be that you have to declare all your melees before you execute them. But fire combat, as I interpret the rules, you don't have to declare all your fires ahead of time, but you do have to complete all fire that you're going to execute against 1 hex before you move on to the next target hex. So that might influence your fire declarations, fire combat declarations. So we'll just start on the left here and go left to right. Got this infantry with Berg. Berg's not going to influence fire combat. So we have infantry against infantry. Now here, range has no modifier. This is infantry firing back against the same infantry that fired at him in the previous step, but he is firing uphill. So you look on the terrain effects chart, you find up one level, it has its own row, and you look across to the right, and it does have defensive modifiers. There may be a defensive modifier for fire combat, and there may be a defense modifier for melee. It tells you what to do with the modifiers. So firing up one level is -1. So you're a little less accurate shooting uphill in this game. So under the infantry column, he'll just roll. Okay, roll to 5. He has to subtract 1 for shooting uphill with 4, which is clearly no effect. We'll go back. We'll go on to the next unit adjacent. This unit is going to fire at now. See, now he has to decide: is he going to fire at the same hex? If he fires at the next hex, well, not him. If another unit over here fired at this hex, then you could not decide to come back to this infantry unit and fire at this hex, because you went on to another hex. That was not explained very clearly, but okay. So this infantry will fire again at the same Holland infantry, but he's not firing uphill because he's on the same level, so it's just flat on the infantry column for no effect. Here, this infantry is going to fire this unit, just flat, no modifiers. He rolled a 2, no effect. This unit is going to fire into the same target hex. Now, interestingly, there is no flank attack modifier for fire combat, though of course there is for melee, but not fire combat. Perhaps there should be, but there isn't. He rolls a 9. That's very good. So under the infantry column, 9, no modifier, is a 1. So he's going to take another step loss, which I believe is going to eliminate him, because he was already eliminated. So he is eliminated. And that means that the leader is... I'll review this one more time, but he's gone. Okay, a leader stacked with combat units or units that are eliminated during melee is killed if no friendly unit remains in the hex. Well, that's interesting. That's only melee. Okay. Huh. Leader's flip to his replacement leader's side. Does that move to nearest friendly combat unit under leader's command? That all makes sense. But what happens if he's eliminated in fire combat? Oh my. Okay. Okay, we're going to play this literally. Alright, first I'll leave him in the hex. Okay, a leader stacked with a combat unit, that was a combat unit, that was an infantry unit, that are eliminated during melee is killed if no friendly units remain in the hex. Leaders flip to the other side. Wow. I mean, as I understand it, leaders don't route, so he's not going to route. Okay, we'll just play it literally. I don't remember entering this. I don't remember having this situation before. So, so he's there. Oh. No, they're these French units would melee the leader, except that I don't think they can melee just a leader unit. I mean, they have rules here for what happens when you move into a hex with a lone leader. But he's going to be able to move away before the French are able to move. Yeah, okay. We'll play it literally and see how this works out. Alright. Guess we'll go on. This bow unit will fire at the heavy cavalry here. That's already taken a step loss. So that's 2 hex range, heavy cavalry. I'll subtract 1, so that's 5 minus 1 is 4. No effect. This bow unit will fire at the same target. 5 minus 1 is 4. No effect. And that's all the offensive fire combat. So now we do our melees. Now here you have to declare your melees first. All your melees first. So yeah, I guess these 2 stacks will melee this Holland infantry here. Yeah, it says during melee combat, the phasing player may attack enemy combat units in one of his combat units' 2 front hexes. So the lone leader here, I don't think qualifies as a combat unit. Over here, of course, these 3 will attack this stack here. So we have 2. Yes, we have 2 melees. And I'm still wondering what to do with this berserk stack here. But let's see. How do we interpret that? How do we interpret that? So I think I'm interpreting. No. I think one interpretation of the rules is that this berserk stack may move up to 4 movement points and attack, despite the fact that he has a stand order, because we know that berserk units are not affected by command shifts, so the fact that there's a stand order is irrelevant. He's not adjacent to a unit now, so I think when we get to that step of the melee, I guess, as I understand it, he may move up to 4 movement points and attack. But it doesn't look like he's required to either. Yeah. Okay, alright. Well, let's do this normal melee here. So, we have 1 infantry unit down here meleeing uphill, together with this unit meleeing on the same level. As I understand the rules, although it's a little unclear of all these different modifiers, I think because 1 unit is meleeing uphill, this attack will get the uphill modifier, even though another unit is not meleeing uphill. Anyways, that's how I'm interpreting it right now. So we have a strength of 6 and 6 is 12 against 5 here. It's 2 to 1. So we start off with 2 to 1. Again, meleeing uphill is a 1 left column shift, so we go to 3 to 2. Okay, then we go to unit type modifier table. This is infantry versus infantry, so there's no effect. So we move on to the column shifts listed underneath the melee table. First of all, the defender has a stand order, right? This Holland infantry is part of Brobar's formation, which is currently under a stand order. So defending units with stand command shift column 1 left. So we go down to 1 to 1. And none of the rest of the left column shifts apply. So we go to the right column shifts. These are infantry with attack command. This is Berg's formation under an attack command. So these are infantry with an attack command. When attacking, have one column shift to the right, so we're back up to 3 to 2. And we have, this unit is attacking through the Imperialist infantry's flank. So we have one more right shift, so we're right back to 2 to 1. Oh, and in this case, we do use Berg's command or combat bonus in this, and so his 2 will be subtracted from the die roll, which improves the attacker's result of the combat. So we roll. Very good roll. 3 minus 2 for Berg's leadership combat bonus goes to 1. 1 on the 2 to 1 column. All right, it's just a D1. So D1, take the Holland infantry, flip them over, which is a step loss, and he checks morale. His lower morale value is 4. Looks like it dropped from 6 to 4. So he tests for morale, he passes with a 3. So he just took a step loss and he passed his morale. Check. Not too bad. And then over here. So we have heavy cavalry on its last step with a replacement leader. That's the target. And here we have, so we have regular cavalry and heavy cavalry. Flat terrain, no terrain, so it's really just the, so for these heavy cavalry with a 2-step loss marker underneath, a 2-step loss marker underneath means that I'm going to subtract 2 from his current strength. His printed strength is 3 minus 2 for the 2-step losses is a mere 1, so this is way off the table. This is attacking a regular cavalry at 3, another regular cavalry at 3 is 6, plus 4 for the heavy cavalry is 10. So it's 10 to 1, which is on the 7 to 1 or better column. No terrain modifiers. We do have heavy cavalry and regular cavalry meleeing heavy cavalry. So down here on the unit type modifier table, again, I believe that we go with the column that best advantages the attacker, right? Because if it were regular cavalry only against heavy cavalry, that would be a 2 left column shift, pretty bad. But he does have 1 heavy cavalry there, so I believe that the attacker can use the heavy cavalry row on the table, which goes to no effect. Heavy cavalry versus heavy cavalry. That's how I'm interpreting it right now, anyways. We do have, these are defending units with a stand command. So we get a 1 column to the left shift, 6 to 1. What else do we have? We have attacking through the flank. Or wait, let's go in order. We have cavalry with an attack command. Yeah, attacking. 1 column shift to the right, so we're back up to 7 to 1, and we are attacking through a flank. So again, off the table. So it is 7 to 1 column. The replacement leader, by the way, has no combat bonus. I don't think replacement leaders ever have a combat bonus. So there's no modifier there. So it's just on the 7 to 1 column. Ooh, that's a 9. Ooh, it's only a defender retreat. So, but he can't retreat in this case. Okay, so here he is here. He cannot retreat through another combat unit. Actually, can't retreat through any unit because he is not a skirmisher unit. If he retreats here, he's still in this zoc. He retreats here, he's in this zoc. So he cannot retreat. Review that real quick. Okay, so retreat. Cannot enter enemy occupied hex, obviously. Cannot enter enemy zoc, even if occupied by a friendly unit. Yeah. Common units that must retreat. Yes, he must retreat because of the DR result. But cannot lose a step instead, so he loses his last step. There's only 1 step left. So he is eliminated. He is eliminated, and the replacement leader. What happens to the replacement leader? I don't think there's any unit left from that command. I don't think that. I think they've all been eliminated. Well, I'm just assuming they've all been. I don't see any other units, so the replacement leader is gone as well. And then, if a defender vacates a hex as a result of melee, that's true here, must advance. Attacker must advance 1 unit. So might as well advance the heavy cavalry here. So he would advance like this. After he took part in melee, it's at the end of the melee, he may freely change his facing. Actually, that is a good facing. But this cavalry unit also took part in the melee. As I understand it, any unit that took part in melee may change facing for free at the end of the melee phase. That's how I'm interpreting the rules at this point anyway. So he will turn, so he's not exposing his flank as much. And that's it. Looks like all the melees for the turn. Okay, now we have the, again, it's not very clear. It's not very clear at all, but now we would go on to the sub-step of attacking heavy cavalry units, where they move up to 4 movement points, engage in melee. That's all it says during the sequence of play. But under melee, they make it sound like this is the same sub-step where berserk units also move up to 4 movement points and conduct melee. I'm going to have William do that. The question is whether he goes this way into the flank of the infantry formation here, or if he goes forward to engage Hugh's fresh unit formation. I think he's going to go into the flank of this infantry unit. No, because then he's exposing his exhausted units to Hugh's advancing infantry. You know what? He'll stay put for that very reason. He's going to stay put to protect this roughed up formation here. Okay, might as well skip that. Okay, so then we go to first player's rally phase. We're going to attempt to rally routed units. So we just go in order here. We have this Picardy infantry. Now he is routed, so he has a route marker on him. But his formation is, just to make sure, yeah, his formation's way up here. So he's out of the command span of William. 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's outside to review the rule, which is a little, I don't know if it's strange, but I didn't catch it the first time I started playing this series. During the recovery phase, and by the way, the rules sometimes say recovery, sometimes say rally. They seem interchangeable. Routed units within the command span of their leader, so he's outside the command span leader, and not an enemy Zoc, he's not an enemy Zoc, conduct a morale check. So since he's outside the command span of the leader, I assume he does not conduct a morale check, which means that he cannot recover. That's a literal reading of the rules. So he just stays routed, but he also doesn't retreat anymore because he's not making a morale check, so therefore he can't fail a morale check, so therefore he doesn't have to retreat anymore. Yeah. But let's look here. Much closer, yeah, we have this Picardy infantry. He is not in an enemy Zoc, he's within the command span of his leader, so he does do a morale check. So the basic, his current morale is 5. You roll the die, you do add 1 for being routed. Routed units forced to make a morale check have a +1 added to their die roll. So it's 2, but that's still well below 5. So he actually does rally, recover, which means I take the route marker off and he's back in the fight. Well, let's do these exhausted units since I got to them going in order here. Exhaustion removal during the rally phase. See, they call it rally phase here. They call it recovery phase over here. The owning player may check each exhausted unit not in an enemy's zoc, neither of them are in an enemy's zoc, to see if it recovers. Roll 1 die, add the units. Okay, so this is a different roll. Let's do the first one here. This is not a normal morale check. So, just roll the die. He has rolled a 4. His current morale is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. Roll 1 die, add the unit's current morale to the result. If the total is 14 or more, the unit is no longer exhausted. Otherwise, it remains exhausted. Okay, so he needs a higher roll than that to recover. He rolled a 4, his current morale is 7. That's only 11. That's well below the 14 or greater needed to lose exhaustion status. Guy next to him has a 5. Oh, that's going to make it even harder. 6, yeah, 6, 5, 11. So basically, he would need to roll a 9 or 10. Okay, that's interesting that so exhaustion is could be pretty significant actually. If you're not able to recover from exhaustion and the enemy hits you, it could be pretty bad. Okay, interesting. I haven't had a significant number of exhausted units engaged in melee yet in a game. Okay. This unit is well outside he belongs to Pole's formation, which is way up here, so it doesn't help him. Over here we have another exhausted unit, so we go 6. He has current morale of 6. 6, 12, does not recover. Wow. So 3 attempts to recover from exhaustion, all fail. And that's it for the recovery rally phase. Then you check for victory starting on game turn 5. I guess I'll break here. So this is the end of the first player turn, which in this scenario is the French army here. Didn't make too much progress here, but fighting on. Does have a fresh formation, Robert here, with some cavalry and some heavy cavalry coming into the fight, though.